All right, what is going on, guys? It's Stack Maniacs. We're back with our second video on the channel. Again, we're a group of people that get together every Friday night to play Magic. My name is Ash Raider, and today I will be piloting Rev Tithe Extractor. It's a mono black deck that basically seeks to use my opponent's decks as well as some draw spells to draw into my win and cast some fun stuff from my opponent's decks. Next, we have Ryan, piloting Emmara, Soul of the Accord. Ryan's strategy is to use Emmara's tap ability to create many 1/1 white soldier tokens with lifelink, buff them up, and go wide. Then we have Tate playing Brago King Eternal, which is a white and blue deck that helps blink stuff in and out for a ton of sick advantage over its opponents. And finally, we have Oz playing Ojer Axonil, Deepest Might, which buffs Ojer and casts cheap spells to kill opponents in a blink of an eye. Alright, and remember to go ahead and leave a like if you liked this video, and comment any decks that you might want to see us play in the future, or any cool cards that you think would be sick to add to our deck lists. Alright, let's get into it. Oz starts the game off with a mountain and passes the turn. On Ash's turn, he plays an Urborg, Tomb of Yawgmoth, into a Changeling Outcast, and passes the turn. Ryan's turn sees him playing a Brushland and then playing a free Paradise Mantle. On Tate's turn, Tate plays an island and then pays 1 for a Lava Spur Boots. On Oz's turn, we see him play a mountain and then tap 2 for Rin's Resolve. Oz exiles a mountain and a Playful Shove off the top of his library and can play them until the next turn. Oz passes the turn. Ash plays a City of Brass and then taps it to play Mana Vault. Ash then taps his Urborg and Mana Vault to cast Rev, Tithe Extractor. Ash moves to combat and gives his Changeling Outcast Death Touch and swings in at Ryan. Ryan takes 1, Ash creates a treasure, and Ryan exiles an Urza's Saga face down. On Ryan's turn, we see him play a Holdout Settlement. Ryan then taps 2 mana for a Sunstrike Legionnaire. After that, Ryan passes the turn. On Tate's turn, he plays an island and then ships a turn over to Oz. On Oz's turn, he plays the mountain that was exiled with Rin's Resolve and then taps 2 to cast Playful Shove, targeting the Changeling Outcast and drawing a card. On Ash's turn, we see him play a Plaza of Heroes, and then he moves straight to combat, swinging Rev at Tate. Tate exiles a land face down from the top of his library, and Ash creates another treasure. Ash then taps 1 black mana to cast Blood Chief's Ascension. And then, with his remaining 4 mana, Ash taps out to cast Shieldred the Apocalypse, and Ash passes the turn. On Ryan's turn, he taps 1 mana to equip the Paradise Mantle to Sunstrike Legionnaire. Ryan then taps his other land and his Sunstrike Legionnaire to cast his general, Emmara, Soul of the Accord. Emarra entering causes Sunstrike Legionnaire to untap. Ryan then re-taps the Sunstrike Legionnaire for a green mana to cast Avacyn's Pilgrim. Avacyn's Pilgrim entering causes Sunstrike Legionnaire to untap. Ryan passes the turn over to Tate. On Tate's turn, he plays an Otawara and then pays 3 into Rhystic Study. And after that, Tate passes the turn. On Oz's turn, he plays a tapped Mystic Peak and then taps 3 mana for a Fiery Inscription. Tate draws off Rhystic Study and takes 2 damage from Shieldred, and Oz passes the turn. On Ash's turn, we see him tap 3 mana for Vashta Narada. Ash moves to combat and swings Shieldred at Oz and then swings Rev over at Tate. Rev's ability triggers and Tate exiles an Archaeomancer face down and Oz exiles a mountain face down. Ash creates 2 treasures and then decides to pass the turn. In Ash's end step, Ryan taps Sunstrike Legionnaire to tap Emmara, which creates a soldier token with lifelink. The soldier entering triggers Sunstrike Legionnaire and it untaps. Ryan taps his 2 lands in Sunstrike Legionnaire and Emmara to create a soldier token and add 3 mana to his mana pool. With the soldier entering, Sunstrike Legionnaire untaps, and Ryan taps it as well as Avacyn's Pilgrim for another mana to cast Anointed Procession. Ryan then uses his 1 floating mana from the Avacyn's Pilgrim to cast Ocelot Pride. Ocelot Pride entering causes Sunstrike Legionnaire to untap. Ryan moves to combat and swings his 1 soldier over at Oz. Ryan moves to end step and Ocelot Pride triggers, creating a 1/1 white cat creature token, and because Ryan has the City's Blessing, for each token he controls that enter the battlefield this turn, he gets to create a copy of it, and because Anointed Procession is also on the battlefield, Ryan will create double the amount of those tokens. After that, Ryan passes the turn. On Tate's turn, we see him play an island and then tap 2 into a Talisman of Progress. After that, Tate passes the turn. On Oz's turn, he taps 2 mana to cast Blasphemous Act. Ryan responds by sacking his Ocelot Pride and casting Flare of Fortitude. With Flare of Fortitude still on the stack, Tate taps 2 islands and casts Mana Drain, targeting the Flare of Fortitude. Flare of Fortitude is countered by Mana Drain, and Blasphemous Act resolves. Because of Shieldred being on the field and Bloodchief Ascension gaining triggers through all these turn cycles, Ashe gains a bunch of life, and Ryan loses a bunch of life, taking him down to 13 life. Oz taps his 2 remaining mana to cast Sazicap's Brew. Oz pitches a flip a coin and loses 4 life from Bloodchief's Ascension. Oz then plays a mountain and taps it to cast Faithless Looting. After resolving Faithless Looting, Oz passes the turn. On Ashe's turn, we see him tap out to recast his commander, Rev. Ashe moves to combat and swings Vashta Narada over at Tate. Tate exiles another land face down, and Ashe creates a treasure. On Ryan's turn, we see him tap 1 mana for an Elvish Mystic, and then he passes the turn. On Tate's turn, we see him play a Flooded Strand and then use his mana for Mana Drain, as well as 2 lands to cast Brago, King Eternal. Tate then uses another one of his mana for Mana Drain to equip the Lava Spur Boots to Brago. Tate then uses his final floating mana for Mana Drain, as well as 2 lands to cast Reality Acid. When Reality Acid enters the battlefield, Tate targets Ashe's Bloodchief's Ascension. Tate then moves to combat and swings Brago, King Eternal, over at Ashe. Ashe takes the damage, and Tate blinks his Reality Acid and Signet. When Reality Acid re-enters the battlefield, Tate targets Oz's Fiery Inscription. On Oz's turn, we see him tap 4 mana to cast his commander, Ojer Axonil. Oz passes the turn. On Ashe's turn, we see him play and crack a Prismatic Vista to go get a basic swamp. Ashe moves to combat and swings Vashta Narada over at Oz, and after giving Rev Death Touch, swings over at Ryan. Both Oz and Ryan take the damage. Ryan exiles an Ashnod's Altar face down, and Oz exiles face down another mountain. Ashe creates 2 treasures from the combat damage and then uses one of his swamps to cast Prickly Boggart. On Ryan's turn, we see him tap Elvish Mystic and his 2 lands to cast a Welcoming Vampire, and then Ryan passes the turn. On Tate's turn, he plays an Aganjo, Seed of the Empire. Tate then taps 3 mana in his main phase to cast Fabricate. With Fabricate, Tate decides to search for the One Ring and then casts it on his turn, gaining protection from everything until his next turn. Tate then taps the One Ring to draw a card and moves to combat, swinging Brago over at Oz. On combat damage, Brago triggers and Tate targets his Reality Acid, the Talisman of Progress, and the One Ring. In response to targets, Oz taps 1 red mana and casts Red Elemental Blast, targeting Tate's Rhystic Study. You're not gonna hit the thing that's gonna sack our permanents?
Nope.
When Reality Acid re-enters the battlefield, Tate targets Oz's commander, Ojer Axonil. Tate discards down to hand size and passes the turn. On Oz's turn, we see him tap 3 red mana for a Jeska's Will, targeting Tate for 7. Jeska's Will resolves, and Oz exiles the top 3 cards of his library. It's a mountain, a Soul Ring, and another mountain. Oz uses 2 of his treasures to cast Erebor Flamesmith. Oz then taps all of his remaining treasures for 5 mana. He uses 4 of them to cast Urabrask. Oz then taps 2 mountains to cast Unleashed Fury, targeting Ojer Axonil, doubling its power. Everybody takes 4, and Urabrask triggers, targeting Ashe, and he takes another 4. Ryan dies to the 4 damage. Oz then uses 1 of his 2 remaining mana and casts Needle Drop, targeting Ashe Raider. Ashe takes 24 damage, cutting his life total in half and dropping him down to 24. Oz then uses his last remaining floating mana to cast End the Festivities, killing Ashe Raider. With the mana that Oz got from Urabrask for casting Needle Drop and End the Festivities, he uses to cast Firebrand Archer and passes the turn. On Tate's turn, we see him play a Plains. Tate then taps the One Ring to draw 2 cards. Tate taps 2 mana to cast Grim Monolith, and then taps the Grim Monolith and 1 other land to play Lithoform Engine. Tate then moves to combat and swings Brago over at Oz. Oz takes the damage and Brago triggers. With Brago's trigger on the stack, Tate pays 2 mana to tap Lithoform Engine to copy Brago's Blink trigger. With the copy of Brago's ability still on the stack, Tate targets the Reality Acid, Grim Monolith, Lithoform Engine, and the One Ring. With Reality Acid leaving the battlefield, Tate loses Ojer Axonil, and with it re-entering the battlefield, Tate targets Oz's Urabrask. Then Tate taps the One Ring to draw another card. Okay guys, so to basically explain this combo, Tate just resolved the copy of Brago's trigger to untap the Lithoform Engine, as well as enough mana to re-tap the Lithoform Engine, and this will infinitely copy Brago's Blink abilities, blinking the Reality Acid over and over again, basically just removing all of our permanents from the game. From there, Tate can pretty much take the game into his own hands and goes for the win. Well, I have to say, Brago to Tate on his win. And yeah, we hope you guys enjoyed. Again, if you liked the video, go ahead and leave a like, and go ahead and subscribe if you want as well. And go ahead and comment what decks you might want to see us play in the future, and we'll try to get them onto the channel. Thanks. You're not going to hit the thing that's going to sack our permanents?
Nope.